Hi. Did you know that this apple that I bought from the supermarket this morning is already months old? And this banana spent most of last week in a storage facility being gassed and warmed before it was ready for me to buy. My name's Melissa Foster, and I believe there needs to be greater transparency within our food system, which is so heavily impacted by convenience. It's something that I dedicate all day, every day to achieve with the work that I'm doing at foodorbit.com, but as well as that, it's the ongoing conversations I'm having with my friends and my family about food, and with anyone else that will listen, for that matter. At first, I was shocked to find out that fresh food as we know it, as we buy on the supermarket shelf, wasn't as fresh as what we were led to believe it was. But when I got over that initial shock, I was annoyed. And I was angered that I, like so many others, had been fooled into thinking something that wasn't true. But then I channeled that into passion, my passion for more clarity around the food that we're eating every day and the process it goes through before it ends up on our plate. When I was growing up, my parents were obsessed with everything 97% fat-free. Ice cream, cookies, mayonnaise, you name it. If it had 97% fat-free on it, we were allowed to eat it. My parents, like so many others, were confused by these misleading labels found on our food packaging. 97% fat-free, plastered over the packaging. The amount of sugar, however, hidden away on the side. I have a question for you all in the room today, if I could just get a show of hands. Who in here likes to eat chicken? Right, most of you, I see. Yes, my parents were real suckers for chicken also. Barbecue chicken in particular. Seriously, it felt like we ate chicken nearly every single night for dinner. And I remember when I was younger, I would ask my mum, what are we having for dinner tonight? Which I think I routinely asked every afternoon because I was hoping it would be something interesting. And my older brother, he was the cheeky one, you know, with a bit of attitude. He'd say, chicken and vegetables. Right at the same time as my mum would say, chicken and vegetables. And if it wasn't chicken and vegetables, it was chicken and salad. So needless to say, my brother and I became so sick of chicken. We just couldn't understand why we had to eat it all the time. But then when I got older, I was talking to my mother and I found out from her that chicken was like this special meal that they enjoyed in their household. They'd enjoy it once a week. Often on a Sunday, they'd roast a whole chicken. So it started to make sense to me. My mother, like so many other Australians, had fallen in love with the taste of chicken. This special meal that they'd enjoy once a week if they were lucky, well, they wanted to start eating more of it. In these days, we only ate 5.9 kilos of chicken on average a year. So chicken producers needed to find a way to produce enough chicken at a cost that would allow Australia's love affair of chicken to blossom. They started producing more chicken for less, and so the days of factory farming began. You all eat 39 kilos of chicken on average each a year now. That's 500 million chickens across the country, which is 10 times more than we ate in the 1960s. I mean, when you start producing this much chicken, things get ugly. What I know now is that they fatten the chickens up to almost 3 times their natural body weight, so that by the time they're just 5 weeks old, they're ready for slaughter. I mean, do we as Australians really want to eat chicken this badly? I soon realised that most of us lack any awareness about the food that we're buying from our supermarket shelves every day. We don't know what's in it, where it comes from, what it should cost, what we should eat, what we shouldn't eat. And I mean, it's shocking to me, and it's a bit sad, that most of you here in the room have probably never eaten an apple within a couple of days of it being picked from the tree. Instead, you've been fooled into thinking this is fresh. Uh, at the end of last year, I got to spend 4 weeks in a tiny mountain village in Guatemala. I was there volunteering with my boyfriend Dean, and we were helping to build a primary school for the local community. It was such an amazing experience. We got to live, eat, and sleep just like the locals did. We had no refrigeration, no showers, no transportation. We just had to totally immerse ourselves within their culture. And we loved it. Well, most parts anyway. I found it a bit challenging not having access to a cold shower maybe once a week if we were lucky, I'm not gonna lie. But what we did really love was the food. We used to go to the markets every second day to buy our food, and the produce was so fresh and so tasty. Everything there was picked just the day before being brought to the markets, and the cool part was walking to and from the markets. You're actually walking through the fields and the properties of where this produce was growing. It's just like, the whole experience was like going back in time for me, and just like what I imagined it would have been like decades ago, shopping for our produce here in Sydney. And I don't know what it is, but when you taste food, and when you eat food and you know where it comes from, it just tastes so much better. But unfortunately, more often than not, the fresh food, as we know it, has been picked way before it's ripened. So it can be shipped off to a warehouse and stored away for long periods of time, just like my apple and just like my banana. So when I got back from my travels, I decided I wasn't satisfied with the current state of our food system. I decided I was going to find out more about the food that I was eating every single day. I chose to stop making decisions based on laziness and convenience. Instead, I was going to find a way to create more transparency for all of us when purchasing food. And so that began the journey of Food Orbit for me. I started talking with farmers, shopping at local farmers markets, finding out about their produce, what was in season, what wasn't in season. And I soon learned a couple of things. For starters, a conversation with a farmer about their farm is never a short one. And secondly, that being a farmer is not an easy gig. I mean, there's the physical nature of it, of needing to tend to the land. But there's also the challenge of being at the mercy of the weather, of the drought, of the floods, of the bushfires. And then there's also the challenge of being at the mercy of our supermarket majors. In fact, did you know that the farmer receives as little as 14 cents to every dollar that you spend on their produce at the supermarket? There's little wonder that 7 Australian farmers a day are calling it quits, and that number is set to rise to 17 a day. Unfortunately, we live in an era of convenience, and as a result, we've sacrificed the transparency of our food system. I'll go back to my earlier example of the apples. When we think of apples, we all think they're meant to be perfect, shiny, blemish-free. We also think that they're meant to be available for us to buy all year round. But let me tell you something. Apples don't grow all year round. In fact, this little guy, well, he was most probably picked in about February this year. Then he was sprayed with a chemical commonly used within the industry called Smart Fresh. Smart Fresh works by being applied and essentially clogging the pores and preventing the natural ripening agents from working. Then he would have been shipped off to a warehouse where he was stored away until the supermarket shelves were ready for him. For this guy, it's only been a few months. But don't worry, there's plenty more where he came from, and they'll be made available to you up until they're nearly 12 months old on the supermarket shelf. The thing is, I'm guessing that most of you here have at least one supermarket within a 3-kilometre radius of your home, and you've probably got another couple of supermarkets conveniently located by your workplace. On the flip side, there may be 1 or 2 farmers markets in your area, but the location isn't ideal, and they're only on once a week if you're lucky, on the weekend. Trust me, I hear you. Buying local and supporting our local farmers is not easy, and it's not as convenient as shopping at your local supermarket. So lucky for you, we did the hard work for you today. Most of the food that you're about to enjoy in your lunch was sourced directly from the local farmers and producers. It means it was picked when it was ready to be picked, and the farmer that picked it, well, they receive most of the profits as well. So while you're enjoying your fresh, tasty, healthy lunch, I want you to think about how you can join me in creating a more future-proof food system for our country. And I challenge you to start finding out more about the food that you're eating every day, and to buy local whenever you can. Because when you buy local, it's better for you, it's better for the environment, it's better for the economy, and it's better for our farmers. Thank you.